It has been a big week in politics, both internationally and here at home. Yet again, across the nation, we continue to deal with the fallout of the leaked draft opinion that would overturn Roe versus Wade, all while the war continues to rage on in Ukraine. Let's turn now to Caroline Heldman, professor of critical theory and social justice at Occidental College, here every Thursday to break it all down for us. Good morning, Caroline.
Good morning, Giselle.
So big news out today as Russia's assault on Ukraine continues. Finland and Sweden asking for NATO membership, despite the fact, as you know, that Vladimir Putin warned against doing that. What are the consequences? How significant?
Well, this is precisely what Putin didn't want. I'm curious to see how he tries to spin this to the folks at home. These two countries were inspired by the war in Ukraine to join NATO, and it will likely happen, but it will be a process that takes about a year. And during that time, they are very vulnerable to attacks from Russia, just as Ukraine is.
They asked for emergency admittance. Do you think that will happen in less than a year, potentially?
I think they will probably get an emergency clearance in the next couple of months that will protect them in some way, but the actual formal process, it will be rushed if it happens in a year. And I do anticipate that it will happen, again, precisely the opposite of what Putin was trying to achieve by invading Ukraine.
Boy, that's an understatement. So Belarus has also moved troops to the border, citing Western aggression. So is this war, Caroline, now expanding beyond Ukraine?
Well, President Lukashenko is actually saying that this is a defensive measure, but keep in mind, he's very good friends with Putin. They ran exercises in Belarus leading up to the invasion in Ukraine in a very threatening manner. They are saying that they are protecting themselves. I hope that it doesn't spill over, but right now what we see is Belarus and Russia acting in very similar ways. Of course, Russia having actually gone into Ukraine to invade.
All right, let's turn now to domestic politics, because a lot going on here at home as well. The Senate failed to pass the Women's Health Protection Act. All Republicans voted against it, including Democrat Joe Manchin. Now, putting the onus on the states to decide abortion restrictions. So this despite the fact that more than 70% of Americans polled support abortion rights. What happens when minority rules the majority?
Well, we haven't been here before, and we actually talked about this about a year ago. This won't be the only policy where this is the case. This Supreme Court, which, keep in mind, is not the way it was supposed to be because Merrick Garland wasn't seated. And I know I keep harping on this. It's not about partisanship. It's about the ways that our systems are supposed to work. So the Supreme Court is now wildly out of step with public opinion. And it's not just Roe v. Wade. It's going to be environmental protections, voting protections, you name it. This court is engaging in minority rule, and especially in the Roe case, it appears to be driven by basically theocracy, right, or religious beliefs, and that's troubling. We just haven't been here before.
What do you think of Justice Sotomayor's comments a while back, where she asks, "Will the High Court survive the stench of what's happening?" What do you think?
Well, they're definitely not surviving the stench in terms of public opinion. This public approval of the court has declined precipitously. They now look like the other branches of government, both in terms of how much they're leaking and how much the public supports them. At the end of the day, this Roe decision is going to likely have almost immediate effects too in states passing laws around contraception, perhaps against same-sex marriage, that because of the wide reasoning that they're using in order to overturn Roe, you talked about the Senate vote, which is more symbolic, right, to hold folks accountable for voting against Roe in the midterm election, or at least that's what the Democrats are hoping. But we're going to live in an America with states that are hostile to rights and states that are protecting those rights. And in California, we're in one of those safe states, but it really will be a very divided country.
Right, and the Supreme Court resumes session today. We'll be watching closely what comes out of them. Also, President Trump's two major primary candidates producing mixed results, as you know. The former president's pick in West Virginia cruised to victory. Not so successful in Nebraska. What's his grip continue to be on the GOP?
Well, he's still the most popular GOP candidate, right, for the presidency coming up. He's the most popular member of the party. Although, it's interesting. Folks will say, well, here's evidence that his endorsement worked. Oh, here's evidence that it didn't. Endorsements are tricky things, but at the end of the day, Donald Trump coming in, swooping in, will immediately improve your name recognition if you're in a part of the country that votes Trump.
Right. I have to ask you about LA Mayor Eric Garcetti. Chuck Grassley came out with his report that says Garcetti most likely did know about the sexual harassment by Rick Jacobs. Is that the death knell for his ambassadorship to India?
I think so. The path to his ambassadorship has closed. And I know the Biden White House is saying, hey, this is a partisan attack on one of our nominees. But at the end of the day, Chuck Grassley, he's a Republican. He is known for running bipartisan, inclusive investigations. And he found that Garcetti likely knew because it was so widespread and such common knowledge in his circles. So I don't know how Democrats can move forward with appointing him ambassador to India.
Right. And as you know, the mayor continues to deny those allegations. Caroline Heldman, thank you for joining us even on this very busy Thursday. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Giselle. It's wonderful to see you.
Always. Caroline Heldman, professor of critical theory and social justice at Occidental College. Thank you so much for being with us. All right, we'll be right back, everyone. This is your morning on Spectrum News 1.